So in last night's video, the lowest level for put options that I gave you was at 570, and I told you the strategy was going to be the breakdown and retest, where the SPY has been consistently breaking key support levels towards resistance, and it has a massive self, and then once it spikes back up, if you're seeing 30-minute bearish candlestick confirmations, you're going to want to be buying put options at that level. For those of you who listened to the analysis that I posted last night, you should have had a phenomenal green day, making hundreds of dollars, if not thousands of dollars on the day, because 570, the first lowest level for put zone, was the exact peak on the day. And I did also mention in last night's video, if the SPY drops to 565, it's likely going to be a great dip buying opportunity in spike first, which was the exact lows on the day. So in terms of the call dip buying opportunities, I gave you the lows. In terms of the puts, I gave you the exact peak. If you use the levels with the overall strategies, you should have had a phenomenal green day on the day. Inside of Team Roar, I ended up going 2 for 3 on the day. G-Roar ended up going 3 for 3 on the day. Uncle Tio ended up going 1 for 1 on the day. We absolutely crushed it as a whole. I'm going to be breaking down the trades towards the end of this video. If you are serious about making money, make sure you are subscribed to this channel. I'm going to be breaking down the new levels of interest. I have a very lucrative money-making game plan for you heading into tomorrow, along with a swing trading idea towards the end of this video. Let's get straight into the analysis. So in terms of the SPY, man, look at this 30-minute chart. If you didn't see this, your third eye is not fucking open, man. Look at how simple this was. This was the lowest level. Remember the levels I gave you for put options in terms of last night's video? I gave you 570, and then the upper levels were 572 and 573.50. So if you didn't see this pattern today, man, your third eye is open and you're not trading properly, man. Look at this. This is the same exact pattern. You have this previous support right here at this 570 level. As you can see, the SPY had a massive sell and a massive gap down. So I told you, if the SPY spikes back up to 570, and if you're seeing bearish or trend reversal 30-minute candlestick confirmations, buy put options. What do I tell you all the time in terms of key levels of resistance and trend reversals for put options? If on the 30-minute chart, if we're sitting up here for 60 minutes, 90 minutes, absolute best would be 120 fucking minutes, it's going to crash. And look at this. We have 2 hours of resistance. Now look at this pattern. Don't you see how this is identical? Don't you see how important the 30-minute chart is with the fucking levels that I give you? You have a green candlestick right here, a green candlestick right here. You have 2 red trend reversal candlesticks, 2 red trend reversal candlesticks. It is fucking identical. If you watched last night's video and you looked at the 30-minute chart with your eyes fucking open and you compared this chart to October 1st, you should have been saying put options right here on the opening of this 30-minute candlestick at 12:30 p.m. You should have been in on put options. If you weren't in on put options at 12:30 p.m. and you were looking at the fucking market and you watched the video last night, you're truly fucking blind, man. You are trading blind. You do not have your third fucking eyes open. And then I told you, these were the lower levels for calls. I fucking told you, 565, we're going to bounce first. What I tell you about 565? This is the gap breakdown level. The SPY had a gap down right here. You take the low of day, 565. And then you can see this went from 565 all the way to 574, right? You have a 9-point move to the upside. So when the SPY drops back down to test the gap breakdown level, it's probably going to bounce first in a sense because it's going to be oversold. It's unlikely that it's just going to crash and crack to fill this gap that's waiting to fill below at 561.30. So that's some education in terms of last night's video, along with recapping the analysis. We'll get into the trades later into the day. But look, man, let's get into the money-making information. So in terms of the money-making information, the weekly chart is consistently repeating itself, man. I pointed out this pattern in last night's video. Look at this. You have this green bullish candlestick on the weekly chart, this green bullish candlestick on the weekly chart. You have this green bullish candlestick facing to the downside on the weekly chart, and see how it looks like there's a little gap in between the middle of that. And then you have a green bullish candlestick right here on the weekly chart, green bullish candlestick on the weekly chart facing to the downside. See how it looks like there's a little gap in between that, right? And then the next week, the SPY retest the previous week's highs, the SPY retest the previous week highs, and then it ends up closing very bearish on the week, going well under the previous week lows. And you could see it's already beginning to drop even lower than the previous week lows, meaning this pattern is still repeating itself. So I'm going to need you focused on buying those put options at those key resistance levels, because in terms of this history, Friday can be a major sell-off. In terms of the swing trading idea, if you are seeing a red bearish daily candlestick right before the market closes, right? So towards like 3:50 p.m., if the market's closing bearish, if you like, you can take the risk, right? Don't risk more than your max risk per trade. You can take the risk and you can swing trade options that are going to expire tomorrow. And then, like I said, you can also take a swing trade as well on options that are going to expire Friday. And then if you like, you can also go a month to 5 weeks out. There's 3 swing trading ideas on put options. I went over this in last night's video. Make sure you watch that as well if you're new to the channel. But based off of what I'm seeing on the daily chart, if you would like to take the risk, you can swing trade put options right before the market closes if the daily candlestick is closing bearish on the overall market, right? So in terms of how this is repeating itself, we're going to be focused on an overall bearish closing week, right? Now, in terms of confirmations for the swing trade, you're going to need a bearish red or bearish or trend reversal daily candlestick, right? Now, in terms of the daily chart, look at the daily chart here, man. This pattern is repeating itself to a fucking T. Take a look at this overall pattern. So you can see right here on the SPY, you have this red daily candlestick right here, and then you have a red daily candlestick right here. Then you have a green candlestick to the upside. Then you have a red daily candlestick. Then you have a green daily candlestick, right? So you can see the same pattern is repeating. These daily candlesticks look very similar in a sense. So you have these 2 red daily candlesticks, and then you have the green in the middle. Then you have a red daily candlestick, and then you have another green, right? So you have this green, red, green. You have this green, red, green, slanted to the right side, slanted to the right side. History is repeating in very similar cycles. So in terms of the main difference in terms of what did not repeat was the SPY did not close as weak as it did last time with this overall pattern. So it repeats in similar cycles. But this is even going to be a better opportunity potentially for tomorrow to buy put options at resistance if we're getting the proper confirmations. So in terms of what happened the next day with this overall pattern, and what I'm going to be keeping an eye on for is this. It topped the next day at the previous day highs. So if the SPY is forming resistance at 570 heading into tomorrow, that's going to be our first level of put options. But we have to be careful in a sense because the level already worked. So we're not getting the proper confirmations, in terms of the stock, in terms of the confirmations. We're going to need to up our standards in a sense because the level already played out and already worked out. I'm telling you, in terms of levels, another key to levels is you have to be the first one to get in on the retest of those levels. Don't keep on playing them if they're already played out. In a sense, that's when you're going to need to raise your expectations and raise your standards if you're going to keep playing at that same level. So the first level for puts is at 570. Just to understand, it's played out. In terms of the true best levels for put options, it's going to remain 572.30 and 573.50 and the gap reversal at 573.70. Those are going to be your true best level for put options. So if the SPY is reacting bullish at 570 and there's no bearish confirmations and we're starting to break out, that means there's a break of trend and it's going to start to rise up to fill the gap that's waiting to fill above at 573.70. Those are going to be the next zones, 573.50 to 572.30. In between that zone, if you're seeing bearish confirmations, you could try put options at that overall level. Now, in terms of that overall daily chart, the focus on call options is going to remain the key oversold levels. So if we get another similar repeat in history, if the SPY tops at 570 heading into tomorrow, we can potentially drop under 565. So if the SPY is reacting as 570 resistance and we're not pushing above 570, then the only levels I have for call options heading into tomorrow is going to be the following. You can try 565, but it's not the best levels. So at not the best levels, you're going to need to use a lot of confirmations stacked within your favor. Be extremely meticulous on those in terms of the ones that already tested in a sense, right? But in terms of the true best levels for calls, it's going to be the following. I'm going to be using the extended hours. So I went back throughout the daily chart and I measured the overall move, and it's a 2-point drop below in terms of yesterday's lows. So 563. So we're going to be going with this overall pre-market support towards 563 that has not been tested. And then also the gap that's waiting to fill below at 561.44 for the gap reversal strategy. That is going to be the game plan heading into tomorrow. Just understand, for a clear break in this bearish trend, the SPY needs to break above this 570 and it needs to react as a support level. If that occurs, there will be a temporary break in trend where the bulls are starting to gain control. And from there, your next levels are going to be that 572.50 to 573.50. that overall zone for the next level for put options. So 570 is make or break. What I dislike about it is it's already played out in a sense, but in terms of how the daily chart is setting up, it's setting up for if we keep topping at 570, we're going to flush to 563. When the SPY starts going under 565, there should be a reversal to buy call options, and the levels are going to be 563, and also keep an eye on 561.30 for the gap reversal. And remember, if the SPY is maintaining below 570 heading into tomorrow, and we are getting a bearish daily candlestick, you're going to want to swing trade put options right before the market closes, like 10 minutes, 5 minutes before the market closes. If we're under, 570 and we're forming a bearish daily candlestick below this 568.86 make or break previous closing price heading tomorrow, then you're going to want to try to swing trade put options. If you like, you can take the idea for Friday, and then you can also consider next Friday, and you can also consider 4 to 5 weeks out, because in terms of the macro environment right now with how the market is setting up, if we are getting a bearish daily candlestick tomorrow and we're maintaining under 570, it is setting up for a phenomenal swing trading opportunity where it's going to be extremely hard to lose if you're going with next Friday's expiration or even 4 to 5 weeks out. So with that being said, that's the overall game plan. And like I said, for a clear break in trend, it needs to break above 570 for the bulls to gain some short-term control. Even if they gain that short-term control, it's likely going to crash at 572.50 to 573.70. Gap reversal, previous support that has not been tested at 572.50 to react to support. The overall breakdown in retest strategy, right? And the inverse of that is going to be the breakout in retest strategy, right? So with that being said, that's the overall game plan, man. And I even mentioned in terms of last night's video that we can see a very similar day to September 27th. And if you simply compare it, if you look at this overall chart, you're going to see there was a lot of similarities, man. You see right here, this pre-market chart right here on September 26th looks very similar to right here to October 1st pre-market chart, right? It looks very similar where SPY just chops this resistance, on the 30-minute chart, sells off, and then it spikes back up, and then it spikes back up. And then I told you, look for this very similar pattern to be happening where the SPY is likely going to sell off. And in terms of the lowest level for puts I gave you was 570. So if you just look at this overall pattern right here, and this overall pattern right here is very similar, the way it looks and the way SPY is going up. And then if you would have just simply analyzed with the 570 level that I gave you, you should have been saying, wow, this looks just like, that date that I just showed you, along with right here, the pattern on October 1st. The SPY's just chopping, sitting up here for 90 fucking minutes at the 570 level. And this right here, this was the level that I gave you yesterday, 570. I told you that's the lowest level for put options to go short, to buy puts on the SPY. And it was sitting up here for 2 fucking hours. It already crashed right here at the fucking level. And if you just look at this overall pattern, man, this is identical. This is what I'm telling you, man. Trading can be very simple with the right levels, with the right foundation, with the right 30-minute candlestick confirmations. So you just got to wait patiently and be disciplined enough for the market to give you in terms of a setup that is a true no-brainer. In terms of opportunities that you're seeing like this tends to happen on average like twice a day, man. I'm telling you, in terms of 0-to-8 options, we're going further out, biggest percentage gains within the market, cheap, low risk. In terms of patterns like this with the levels where everything just makes perfect sense stacked within our favor, we're typically seeing 2 opportunities like this every single day on average. And all you need is 1 a day to go green. If you have 1 green trade, you should be up enough. Even if you're starting light, you should be up enough to call it for a fucking day. And then if you like to keep trading, you risk, 25 to 50% of your overall gains. And then if you hit your max risk, that's it. You can't keep on fucking trading. You're not going to risk going green to red when you're already fucking green. Just risk going green to a little bit less green on the day, 25 to 50%, right? So with that being said, that's the overall analysis on the SPY. I'm telling you, man, we're going to absolutely fucking crush it tomorrow, right? So that day has repeated in a very similar cycle. So heading into tomorrow, I'm telling you, man, look at this overall chart. We're going to be focusing as well. Look at September 30th, man. If the market is starting to sell off, you can already see right here, it's already continuing to repeat itself. SPY is already starting to sell off. SPY is already starting to sell off. So if we spike back up to this 570 level or even 571, if you are seeing bearish reactions later into the day, the market's going to sell off and flush, man. So I'm telling you, this has been repeating so fucking identical. You need to be looking at September fucking 30th heading into tomorrow in terms of a comparison, and look at the 30-minute chart patterns. It gave it all away, man. This 30-minute chart pattern was identical at our fucking level, man. I truly don't understand the excuse on being fucking red. This was so simple. Losing was literally a fucking choice today. Red was a fucking choice, man. If you apply the stuff I teach, you should have been green as fuck. You just got to wait for the levels and wait for the confirmations. Like I tell you with the levels in terms of a time confirmation, if we're sitting 90 minutes to 2 fucking hours at the level with the right confirmations, it's gonna fucking work 90% plus of the fucking time, right? If we're just sitting up here at fucking resistance level for 2 fucking hours, and then you have this red trend reversal confirmations, if you just study the confirmations history to fucking repeat itself, you can create your own fucking strategy with this. You don't even need to know the names of these fucking candlesticks, man. Look at the history repeating itself. It's so fucking simple, man. You just need to be disciplined enough to wait for the levels to hit, and then once your foundation hits, wait for the proper confirmations. Like I said, the 30-minute base is the best base that I've found in terms of the overall market when reading the chart, in terms of entering these fucking trades. And I gave you key times: 1 hour, 90 minutes, 2 fucking hours. If it's just sitting at the fucking levels at resistance, it's likely going to crash. If it's just sitting at the fucking levels for support, it's likely going to spike, right? So in terms of the trades that we ended up making inside of Team Roar today, G-Roar ended up going 3 for 3. As you can see, the first trade on the day at 9:31 a.m. Let's buy 563 SPY puts for 59 cents a contract. We bought these puts at 59 cents a contract, and then we ended up adding into the overall winners, basically at break even there. And then in terms of the next situation, you could see we ended up selling these put options at 89 cents a contract, nearly a 100% profit return in 12 fucking minutes. You can walk away nearly every single day green if you're inside of Team Roar. These are the best morning trades you're going to possibly find within the overall market. And then once the trade is over, we break down the full fucking play. So with that being said, in terms of the next trade that we ended up making on the day, you can see right here, we ended up buying 570 SPY calls for 50 cents a contract. And then in terms of these calls, we ended up exiting at 75 cents a contract for a 50% profit return at the speed of fucking light. And then in terms of the next win on the day, going 3 for 3, as you can see right here, we ended up buying SPY 567 puts at 46 cents a contract. And, G-Roar is literally showing you exactly what it is that he is seeing and anticipating on this overall move before it even fucking happens, right? And then as you can see, the trade played out to an exact fucking T. And then you guys know we're known for adding to our fucking winners. And then we ended up exiting that trade, as you can see right here, at 74 cents a fucking contract, going 3 for 3. In terms of Uncle Tio went 1 for 1 on the day, as you can see right here at 10:25 a.m. He ended up buying 250 Tesla calls at 250 a contract, and he held those calls throughout the day. As you could see in terms of those calls, they ended up going to 480 a fucking contract. And then in terms of the trades that I ended up making, I'm going to walk you through this here real quick. So in terms of the trades that I ended up making, I'm going to show you here real quick. I ended up starting the day off very, very nice in the green, 2 for 2 with some nice scalps. And then I had 1 small loss on the third trade. And then I called it. I had an amazing plan on puts to be going short towards this key 560. I'll be going over that. But let's get into it, man. So in terms of the trades that I ended up making today, I'll show you here. Let me walk you through this. So as you can see right here, in terms of the first trade on the day, I ended up buying SPY 567 puts at 50 cents a contract, man. 5 minutes into those fucking puts, I ended up making a 50% profit return at the speed of fucking light. We absolutely crushed it, man. That was in terms of my first personal trade on the day. And then in terms of the next trade on the day, I ended up buying SPY 569 calls at 58 cents a contract, right? And then in terms of that trade, I ended up selling at 73 cents a contract for nearly a 50% profit return back to back. And then I had 1 more trade. It was a small loss on puts. I had the perfect game plan on puts, today, for those of you who took advantage of it. I made it very, very clear within the chat that once the SPY goes above 569.30, you're going to want to be scalping put options. You can go with 569 puts, right? Or you can go with SPX put options that are a little bit further out of the money, 5705 strike, right? And those ended up printing twice. I gave them the perfect fucking map, the perfect fucking game plan within the overall chat. So like I said, man, we absolutely crushed it. For those of you who are serious about trading alongside with us, it's going to be the first link down below within the description. In terms of what you get access to inside of Team Roar, you gain access to our secured private organization. my private community. And in terms of the community, you can trade alongside two multimillionaires, G-Roar and Uncle Tio, Keaton Win, Forbes 30 under 30. And then in terms of what you gain access to as well, a zero-date options trading alert system. In terms of some background to the zero-date options trading alert system, we are known for trading in a style, in a way, in a very systematic approach that 98% of the traders are not doing. So in terms of what we do differently is we are known for buying cheap, low risk, far out of money option contracts, the zero date options. And we're known for selling them deep in the money for the biggest percentage gains within the market. At times, we're going 3 to 5 strikes out. We're known for selling them deep in the money for the biggest percentage gains. We have a 90% plus success rate doing this. In terms of some background to the unique trading alert system that we've created, it's very simple. So we don't use stop losses. The contracts are so cheap, so low risk, literally just 59 cents a contract, $59 for one contract. You can put in your max risk per trade into these contracts. Meaning, if they expire worthless, they go to zero, the most you lose is your max risk per trade. Therefore, you don't need a stop loss. And another benefit to not having a stop loss is you're not going to be getting stopped out to losers, but you have the entire day to hold for the contracts, to go in the money. So in terms of our experience with the dead plays, a dead play is when a trade drops 50%. 70% of the times when we're down 50% on a trade, it tends to go in the money and come back to life. So this gives us a very sharp edge within the market. And also, what we are known for doing is we are known for quickly adding to our winners. As you noticed within today's trades, there was many times where we added when we were either at break even or barely up. And that's what we're known for doing. So we like to add to wins when we're up like 5%, 10%, 15%, 20%. For us, that's very small percentage gains. We're known for winning very big percentage gains over here, right? So when we're up a little bit and we get a winning confirmation, the winning tends to keep going big in our favor. So we add to wins to increase the winnings. And then the next step is to set a profit stop. Setting a profit stop is going to ensure that you do not go green to red on a trade. If you are up on a trade and you set a profit stop, you get stopped out for a profit. If you are in a trade and you set a stop loss, you get stopped out for a loss. We don't use stop losses, right? We have the entire day for the contracts to go in the money, right? So we get to see how the trade reacts. We manage our risk by putting in our max risk per trade, right? And if we like, we can sell the move if we're down, but there's no need for a stop loss. A stop loss is going to get you stopped out, and you're not even going to be able to see how the trade reacts at a certain specific level. It's not required when you're buying something that's very cheap and low risk. Putting your max risk per trade into the contracts, the most you lose in terms of the beauty of trading options is if the contract expires worthless, you know exactly how much it is that you're risking, right? So with that being said, when we set the profit stop, we are known for moving the profit stop up. As the trade begins to work in our favor, as we have that winning move in our favor, we move the profit stop up. The reason why you want to move your profit stop up is because as you are winning, you want to protect your winnings, right? You don't want to just get stopped out for a small green profit. You want to make sure that as the market is having a big move within your favor, you want to protect your overall gains, right? So moving the profit stop up as the trade is working within your favor is going to ensure that it's going to protect the bulk of your profits, right? So not only are you going to not be going green to red setting the profit stop, but moving the profit stop up is going to protect the bulk of your profits if the market has a big move against the overall trade, right? So that's just some background in terms of the uniqueness of our trading alert system. If you like to trade alongside with us, it's going to be the first link down below within the description. We have tons of members. I'm telling you, man, this is a phenomenal community. If you would like to trade alongside our secure private organization, it is the first link down below within the description. You can get started trading with us heading into tomorrow. And I'm telling you, man, in terms of the morning trades, you ain't going to see anything else like this out there. For the morning trades and the power hour trades, it's unfucking believable, man. So it's the first link down below within the description. If you're serious about making money, we have many members who are making $500 a day. We have many members who are making thousands of dollars a day. We have multiple multimillionaires within this chat. We have many members, they don't even use the community. They simply just observe the trades. You know, some of them just observe the trades and they use it as a confirmation if they want to take the trade or not, right? And then some of them just follow the trades, right? So if you're serious about joining, it's the first link down below within the description. You can start printing with us tomorrow at the speed of light. You can start making money with us. It's going to be the first link down below within the description. I will see you guys within the chat.